It's the Dazzle Report, channel 108. The only channel you need to watch, the only channel you need to see, except the channel you watch and the channels I see. Not here to impress, only here to express. Today is Saturday the 12th of July 2025, soon be Christmas 2023, soon be Easter 2040 when the vapor kind of really returns. It's around 34 degrees now, sat in the sun here. Got to take full advantage of this here in the UK. Since they did this, isn't it ironic? Since the mainstream media declared that the government wants to darken the skies to protect us from climate change, cover the sun up, back in, when was it? Back in May, was it? Or was it April, something like that? About 2 or 3 months back. How ironic it is that we've had one of the best summers ever for a long time. I've had a couple of shitty weeks here and there, but most of the time it's been fantastic. And I had the benefits of going to the Philippines for 3 weeks as well during May. So this year I've got so much sunshine, more than I have since, I'd say, 2022, I suppose. I mean, 2023 and 2024 was pretty appalling as British summer's got concerned. And yes, of course, they were covering the sky then, and they've been doing it for decades. But I'm not here to talk about chemtrails and weather modification. That has been covered, and I will cover it again later. What I'm going to talk about, imagine if you will, Africa, sub-Saharan Africa is a developed first world country, set of countries, or a union of countries, fully developed, infrastructure intact, booming economies, plenty of job opportunities, plenty of entrepreneurial opportunities, peace, no war, enough food to go around. Everyone's living the dream, basically. Everyone's living it up. Like the American dream, but this is the African dream, you could say. But this is an alternative reality, what I'm talking about here. Well, this is the case in sub-Saharan Africa, whereas Europe, America, Australia, all the place where the white people live, is besieged with civil war, famine, economic and social collapse, corruption. It's getting that way already anyway. That is something that's actually that's actually something that's occurring. But in this reality, this is like full-blown economic social collapse, civil war, etc. And people just want to get the fuck out because there's nowhere to live. It's a hell on earth. Living in Europe, North America and Australia is hell on earth for the white population. So their migrants are coming over to Africa to get a better life. And first wave of migrants come over, and they've got skills, and they apply those skills, they get jobs, they do it all by the books, they do it by the the authorities, the government authorities, and they get settled in. They get jobs as transport workers, lorry drivers, all that kind of work. And even some come as doctors, even lawyers, engineers, various professions, which contribute greatly to the economy, to the society, and they're coming over. A few thousand here, a few thousand there, and eventually you got, like, in a population of, I don't know how many are there in sub-Saharan Africa? About, I don't know, close to 1 billion, I suppose. The whole of sub-Saharan Africa. I'd say it's around about 1 billion, isn't it? Maybe less, maybe 700 million. I'm not sure, to be honest. Anyway, that's by the by. But say, for example, there's about 2 or 3 million whiteys have migrated to sub-Saharan Africa for a better life, and to flee the third world shitholes of countries. And a lot there's some contention. There's some people, the black people. Some of the blacks are like, we don't want all these whiteys coming to my country, and they have their version of the National Front. They march in the streets saying, "Whites go home, African front is the black man's front, join the African front and all that kind of stuff. And but a lot of them are accepted, and that kind of racist attitude towards the whites kind of starts to wear thin a bit, because they are contributing to the society, they are doing good, and then more come over and do the same. If I say like 20, 30 years later, it's become accepted now that you've got a lot of white people living in sub-Saharan Africa. You've got a few million there now, you know, and pretty much most of them are just getting on with their lives. They've got their own little communities. They've got the chippies. They've got fish and chip shops. They've got they've got the mashed potato shops, you know, all the traditional English stuff, you know. The ones from London have got the jellied eel shops, and they've got the ones from Manchester. They've got their black pudding shops, and lots of chippies, you know, fish and chips. And actually, fish and chips becomes very popular in the sub-Saharan Africa. You know, you get the Africans going to the traditional English restaurants where mashed potatoes and chips are sold, and it's quite popular, really. It's a satire, but you know, ironic satire. Of course it is. I don't have to say that, really. So yeah, all this is going on, but however, a Prime Minister of the African Union declares that because it's so much, and what's going on right in North Africa, in North America, Europe and Australia, there's a lot of bombing going on now. The African Union are now sending their airplanes and bombing the shit out of the white countries because of the threat of terrorism, and there are white tourists actually coming over and blowing people up in Africa. There is that element now, and it's starting to create racial tensions against the white population in Africa. So they're starting to go out and, you know, Christian white tourists blowing themselves up in chippy restaurants and things like that. Some prominent buildings get destroyed by crashed planes, which gets refuted, and people say it's an inside job. All that kind of stuff, all that goes on. It's going on in Africa every now and then, these terror attacks. So they have to go over to Europe, UK, United States, and bomb the shit out of all these countries. So they're already sort of like, there's already civil war going on. So they're just making the situation even worse. They made an impossible situation even more impossible for people to live there. So of course, mass migration starts to occur from these white countries to Africa, and a lot of them are just like, and they're coming over on boats. They're smuggling themselves on lorries and trains from North Africa. They go across the Mediterranean. They cross over the Straits of Gibraltar. They come down. They go different routes. You know, boats from, you know, going around Africa and all that, and they're all coming down. And there are millions and millions and millions of whiteys coming over, and they're sticking them all in hotels because there's nowhere for them to go. They're sticking them in hotels at the taxpayers' expense, and of course racial tension rises again, and the Africans are concerned because they're paying up to their eyeballs in taxes now. Their society's got to such a degree that a vast quantity of the taxes are going into bombing the shit out of Europe, bombing the shit out of America, bombing the shit out of Australia, sending in troops, you know, defence expenditure, plus all the refugees coming over from the white countries coming to Africa, and they have to spend money on housing these people. They're getting hotels, they're getting electric bikes, they do, you know, they got the members of chess clubs, the football tickets, you name it. Free medical treatment, free dental treatment, free mobile phones, clothing allowance, a little bit of pocket money as well, all board and keep paid for. But they're not allowed to work because they've got national insurance numbers. They just hang out on the streets, and then rapes are starting to, and crime is going up, skyrocketing, because you've got all these unemployed young white men hanging out on these streets of, say, for example, Lagos. And young black ladies are at risk of getting raped and attacked by these young white men that are just hanging out on the streets, you know. And of course, the white people living there already, that maybe 2-3 generations in, they're also outraged by the behaviour of these illegal migrants coming over from posing asylum seekers coming over to Africa, and but they're getting roped into it too. So you've got this race situation going on, and naturally the general population of law-abiding African people would be outraged, and of course, as soon as they start to voice their opinions, the governments are telling them they're all being far-right racists, black supremacists, and it's not to be tolerated. And then getting put in prison for putting tweets up and Facebook posts up saying we need to burn down these hotels full of these young white troublemakers. Just switch it around, switch it around, switch it around. White privilege. Now, next video I'm going to be talking about white privilege. But there's a thing. There's a bit of food for thought for you. You know, if the shoe was on the other foot, how interesting it would be, and perhaps that might become a reality in 20, 30, 40 years from now. Who knows? Look out for the next episode of the Dazzle Report, Channel 108. The Bobby Dazzle Report, Channel 108. Next episode coming soon, white privilege. Peace, bless.